You are listening to Skin, Earth, Vitality, the podcast where ancient wisdom meets modern vitality. If you are seeking to reconnect with your innate vibrancy, you're in the right place. I'm Emily Davis, a seasoned holistic esthetician and herbalist. Join me as we unlock the secrets of ancient skincare practices, explore the beauty of seasonal and nature-based living, herbalism, and true holistic well-being for you and the broader ecosystem. This podcast is brought to you by Stratum Aesthetics. Head to stratumaesthetics.com to find curated skincare, body care, and other wellness products hand-selected by me. Now enjoy the show. Please remember that the information I share in this podcast is based on my personal and professional experience and is intended for educational and informational purposes only. It is not individualized skincare advice, nor is it medical advice. I encourage you to take charge of your own health decisions and listen to your body, seeking out the resources and professionals that best support your wellness journey. Hey there, Emily here. I wanted to pop on before the show. This show was recorded weeks ago as it's going live, which is September 15th, 2025. There's a lot going on in the world. There's a lot of energetic and spiritual chaos with some really dark and heavy things happening, and then even darker reactions to those things that we're being exposed to. And I wanted to just come on really quickly and talk about a concept of psychic sovereignty. Because apparently these days you can just be minding your own business and open up an app to conduct business or talk to your friends or family. And all of the sudden, without consent, you're exposed to watching someone's last moments or other horrific events, which has made me really consider, how do I want to engage in these platforms? Do I want to engage in them anymore? I'm not sure. I was listening to Cal Newport this weekend. I really enjoy his podcast, and he had one about how to become a better thinker. I'll link it in the show notes. It was a good one. It was from about 3 months ago. And he was talking about not getting your news from social media, which on one hand I agree with, but then I also kind of disagree because I do enjoy some of the people on TikTok who are social commentators, and I think legacy media has never really had the plot. I think they're a self-censoring apparatus just because of how they're structurally incentivized. But the point is not getting your news from social media so that you're not immediately seeing what your tribe thinks of something. And he was instead suggesting that you keep a document of current events and you write out what you think about what happened. And I'm just a big fan of writing because I think it helps clarify your thinking. And I also just think creating is so good for your brain. So I loved that idea. And I think that ties into this topic of psychic sovereignty. But to the point of what I wanted to pop on here and say, intuitively, I'm just feeling this heavy wave in the collective, a lot of darkness, a lot of violence and death, and just a lot of spiritual rot rising to the surface. And it's really taken my breath away and made me feel this deep despair and fear for our world because there's so much normalization of evil. And it makes me think a lot about the French Revolution, that collective hysteria and bloodlust disguised as justice, and both sides of the aisle constantly wanting to claim some moral high ground and just being so committed to their superiority. And I just have to stay away from social media because there's so much lack of self-awareness. And it's kind of been on my mind, why am I even doing any of this work right now? Why am I releasing podcasts? Why does it matter? But I do believe that this work is important right now because tending to yourself holds your soul together. And my hope is that it helps keep humanity intact in a dehumanizing world. My hope is that it interrupts despair as a reminder that life still exists. That's why beauty and art matters. The harmony of our body with nature and our soul is, I think, what just keeps us from being absolutely devoured by the ugliness. And some parts of this year have really felt reminiscent of early COVID years. I felt very dark at that time because for the first time in my life, I felt this despair about our government and about people and their capacity to dehumanize each other. And my biggest regret of that time was getting wrapped up in the fear, and it kind of paralyzed me for a while. There was this tweet from Brendan Bouchard that said, "Let them panic, you build." And I keep that on my desk because I do believe that I am fulfilling my calling from God doing this work. And part of this work is sovereignty. I talk about sovereignty in today's episode. And I do feel that sovereignty is the heartbeat of my work. It's about belonging to yourself first. And that doesn't mean isolation or this toxic individualism that we're seeing quite a bit of, which is rooted in building walls and distrust around yourself. But sovereignty is about being rooted in your truth and creating a boundary, but also staying open-hearted, even when it feels very seductive to plug into that chaos and collapse that we're being exposed to on our screens. And I know it feels like this little gremlin that just wants to binge on content. But that is your nervous system trying to regulate. If I just see a little bit more, I'll have answers, and I just need to get to the end of the internet and then I'll feel okay. But having psychic sovereignty is about not letting the noise of the internet override the voice of your soul. And when people don't reclaim this sovereignty, it's very easy to get swept up into this version of reality that is designed, in my opinion, to keep you very frantic and fragmented and dependent. I do believe that there is a force. You can call it darkness, you can call it the matrix, but it feeds on disempowerment. And I believe that empowered, sovereign, and connected people are magic beyond what I think we realize we have the capability for. I think it is fractured by mass fear. And I think that there is a force that knows that and knows how powerful we are and how, if we are created in the image and likeness of God, the ultimate creator, how creative must we be? How powerful must we be when we are rooted in our true sovereign self? So when we can tend to our emotional and spiritual faculties, I do believe we are able to override this and be in our true power. I think that being close to God is so important now. I think it's going to get a little gnarly here, and I think that all of this stuff that I talk about is going to become even more important. Everything that I talk about in today's episode is part of it. Tending to your temple is so important for your psychic sovereignty. Doing things like putting your bare feet on the earth. This grounds your field. It pulls you out of the matrix and into resonance with the earth. Eating warm, nourishing meals at consistent times, because this rhythm calms our nervous system. The blood sugar balance of consistent eating helps with emotional regulation and boundaries. Having no screens after dark, because this blue light I'm going to talk about today, it confuses our circadian rhythm and floods your system with synthetic information. Doing a nighttime wind down ritual. So maybe some tea and candlelight and breath work, closing the portal to the outside world, waking up without diving straight into your phone in the morning, giving your soul a chance to speaking to God before you let the world speak at you. So I just wanted to pop on and give a couple of words about that. Everything that I say today is so relevant to this as well. I'm holding you in so much love. I hope that you have a beautiful day and enjoy the episode. Welcome in. I'm so grateful to connect with you today. I hope you're well. I am so excited to talk about this topic, and I actually should apologize because this is so overdue. I should have had this podcast episode as like one of my first episodes. It's that important. It's so foundational. I'm sure this will not be the only time I will talk about this. I know I will be coming back to it time and again because it fits into all of my philosophies about skin, about health. It's such a big deal, about aligning with nature. And so circadian health is our 24-hour clock that follows the sun and the darkness, and how our body responds to sun and darkness. And circadian rhythms are actually an anticipatory, I hope that's a word, I think it is, anticipatory system. And that means that they're actually anticipating what's about to happen based on the amount of light that's being shown on your skin, in your eyes from the sun, or from the light in your environment. So the light bulbs in your house, the screen on your phone, your TV, whatever it may be. And so it's anticipating what's about to happen next. And it is sending signals throughout the body telling, your digestion to rest, or your digestion to ramp up, your digestive enzymes to ramp up, your hormones to rise and fall. All of these things anticipating what's about to happen rather than like reacting to what's happening. I'm so excited to talk about this. And it's not talked about enough in the skincare space. It blows my mind because today we're going to talk about all of the ways that our skin is affected by being in harmony with our circadian rhythm. And before we dive in, I want to frame this in the bigger picture of what I'm doing with my work, because this podcast isn't just about skin tips or beauty hacks. It's about rewriting our relationship with our physical beauty altogether. And I believe that our relationship with our beauty is tied deeply to our relationship with our whole body health. And this conversation is a conversation about sovereignty. So sovereignty outside of the medical industrial complex, sovereignty outside of big beauty, outside of systems that profit when we forget our body's innate intelligence. Because our body is designed to heal itself, including our skin. And your circadian rhythm is the blueprint for this healing. It tells your skin when to repair. And when you ignore the rhythm with really bright nights or dark days, we're blocking the very systems that are built to regenerate us. And that's when we start reaching for endless fixes outside of ourselves. And so honoring this rhythm, our circadian rhythm, we remember that self-healing isn't some crazy like fringe idea. It's our biology. It is our birthright. And living in alignment with this is how we get back to our innate beauty, our innate vitality, and that sovereignty every single morning with the sunrise. And this fits so beautifully in with my philosophy because I talk a lot about how important it is to connect with nature. And I don't necessarily mean just like go hiking all the time, although that's amazing, do that. But living in alignment with nature means remembering that you actually are nature. You're not something that's above it or separate. And remembering that, knowing that involves day-to-day habits. So this looks like syncing up with our circadian rhythms, but also syncing up with infradian rhythms, which are rhythms that are longer than a 24-hour clock. So the circadian is the 24-hour clock. Infradian are going to be longer. So that's going to be like a menstrual cycle, the seasons of the year. And living in sync with these rhythms is an expression of deep alignment that's going to support your resilience and your radiance. And it just blows my mind that this isn't talked about more because even major health organizations like the WHO have recognized circadian disruption, so light nights, specifically as a probable carcinogen, especially in night shift workers where you're like under a fluorescent light all night long. And it's just so under-discussed in the bigger conversation around modern health because it impacts everything. So let's get into talking about how it impacts the skin. And I want to tell you the how, but then I'm going to tell you what you can do because it's so easy to talk about like the theory of this stuff. But what's hard is implementing it into your life. And I know this from experience because in 2024, my New Year's resolution was to just really lock in with my circadian health. Leading up to this, I had been reading a ton of books. I had been taking courses, watching videos. I was following an account, Carrie B Wellness on Instagram. She's amazing. She dives into all of this interesting science. She does different like courses / workshops during the year where you get a video every day for like 2 weeks or something like that, talking about circadian health and that time of year. So as this episode is coming out, I think this one's coming out September 15th. And so we'll be coming up to one of her workshops that she does for winter and how you can actually utilize winter for deep healing and the light in winter for deep healing. So go check her out. She's amazing. All of this to say, I was just like binging on this kind of content leading up to New Year's that year. And then I decided like, okay, this is a fun resolution. It's not like high pressure. It feels good. And it also felt very sustainable because I felt like I could make small changes at a time and it didn't need to be like this huge life overhaul. So I'm telling you all of this because I want to tell you I've been there. I know that this is tough. The reason it's tough is because this disrupted circadian culture, I guess, is a cultural problem. It's everywhere, but we do have responsibility for ourselves, for this temple that we're in. And so there are things you can do. So I'll be talking about those as well. But let's start out by talking about what exactly the circadian rhythm is affecting in our skin. And this is important because anytime somebody comes to me asking about vibrant aging, or if we're talking about acne or any type of skin condition, circadian rhythms are like the most important thing that you can do to start working on skin health. And I always say skincare is so much more than a bottle. This is one of those examples. So if your skin is really slow to heal, if you are having red marks after acne or pigment, or you have rash type of situations that just won't heal, this is the time that it's going to be really, really important that you honor that circadian rhythm. So in every cell of our body, we have these peripheral clocks that all communicate to a master clock within our brain. And so when sun is shining on our skin and in our eyes, we're getting messages from the sun about what time it is and what to anticipate next. Different times of day are going to have a different spectrum of sunlight. So sunrise, we have high infrared. It's really good to see the sunrise. We have some red light happening, mostly infrared. And this is when our cortisol starts rising. We want our cortisol to rise because this is what allows us to have some get up and go in the morning, to want to get out of bed. This is when our melatonin shuts down. And then that infrared and red light are actually signaling to our mitochondria to support ATP production. That's like one of the main benefits that you're getting from like a red light mask, but this is your daily red light therapy session from nature, like the true red light therapy. Our blood flow starts to increase. We get that fresh, plump look. Our antioxidant systems get primed, prepping you for potential oxidative stress that you may get from the UVA and UVB later. Our microbiome on our skin actually shifts out of its night mode. So at nighttime, we had these specific bacteria that thrived. At that time, they were very repair oriented, and now they are being replaced by more defense-oriented daytime populations. But again, if we're not getting sun at sunrise, that's not going to happen. We're not going to get as good of a defense for the daytime environment that we're about to be in. Our barrier is still permeable from nighttime repair. If we're missing this sunrise infrared light, we're going to be less resilient to UVA and UVB stress later on in the day. So we've gone through sunrise. It's like 7 or 8 o'clock a.m. at this point. We're now getting UVA rise. And so this means the sun is giving off less infrared and red, and we've got more UVA coming into the scene. And so UVA is more oxidative than infrared and red, but our body is so intelligent, it anticipated that this was going to happen, and it started to prime our skin to be able to deal with this stress in a healthy way. It's like your intelligent design already knows how to interact with the environment. UVA signals melanocytes in our skin. So these are the pigment production cells. And this is all as long as we're getting healthy doses of sun on our skin and in our eyes without any sunglasses on in the morning. So this sets our skin clock. If you see this after that infrared priming, you're building tolerance and resilience. And the timing is going to be different all throughout the year and in different places, depending on where you are. There are 2 apps. One is called the Circadian app, and one is called Circadian. They're both fantastic, and they will tell you, depending on where you are in the world, the time of year, the time of day, what's happening as far as UVA rise, sunrise, like whatever the sun is emitting at that time, those apps will tell you. So it makes it very easy, but it's around like 7 or 8-ish. And so this is a time when we do have subtle collagen breakdown, but the key is that infrared priming that happened with the melanin and the antioxidants helps to buffer that breakdown, making it this like very subtle, balanced process rather than just like constant degeneration. But if we're not in harmony with our circadian rhythms, then yeah, it is a lot worse for your skin. But the good news is this is when our sebum, our oil production, starts to increase, and we are increasing our skin's lipid film supporting our barrier. Also, during this UVA rise, UVA stimulates nitric oxide in the skin and our blood vessels. So the vasodilation is going to mean better microcirculation, improved nutrient and oxygen delivery to our skin. So UVA gets a really bad rap, but there are a lot of benefits to getting those small, healthy doses in the morning. At midday, we have UVA and UVB peak. We have full UVA plus the UVB is strongest here. This UVB stress can be balanced by the antioxidants and repair enzymes that we primed with our sunrise light. But without that, we're getting oxidative chaos, and we can have so much sun damage because we don't have that balance that happened earlier in the day. So this is when our vitamin D synthesis activates within our skin. We have natural antioxidants like carotenoids and vitamin E in our sebum. They're getting depleted faster now, but our barrier function also tightens. It's less permeable and more in like a shield mode. This is a hormetic stress window. So short, smart exposure is really supportive. This is when we're getting vitamin D. We're not getting that during the early morning when it's primarily infrared. We're also not getting it at sunset. So for that vitamin D synthesis, we do need that smart exposure midday. These small timed doses are medicine. However, overexposure does cause collagen breakdown and dysbiosis. We want to make sure that we are doing this intelligently and intuitively and not just stepping out into solar noon in the middle of the day, in the middle of the summer when we haven't had any other prepping or priming and expect for it to be like a healthy moment. Burning is not beneficial for the skin. So we've done midday. Now we're going to move on to sunset. So this is infrared dominant again. Our UV is starting to taper. This is when cortisol naturally should drop. Our melatonin precursors rise. So getting that sunset light is actually going to start triggering a better ability to fall asleep at night. Our nervous system is shifting into parasympathetic, and on our skin, the infrared light is going to calm oxidative stress. Our repair signaling ramps up. And so this is why it's so important that we're getting sunset light so that we can signal to our skin collagen synthesis, keratinocyte turnover, so skin cell turnover, and DNA repair within our skin. This is like the reset light for our skin, soothing everything and preparing it for nighttime repair mode. And then dusk is another important time. So there's no UVB happening, and our pineal gland is releasing melatonin if we actually have darkness and not screens on. So melatonin is also made in skin cells. It's an antioxidant. It boosts repair within our skin. Our microbiome is shifting into nighttime repair and balance. So we have higher microbial diversity at nighttime, more anti-inflammatory microbes. And then nighttime, we have to have true darkness. So this is when melatonin peaks. We have growth hormone released during deep sleep. For our skin, this is maximum collagen production, elastin synthesis. Our skin cell turnover is highest at nighttime. But again, this is only happening if we have true darkness. I think this stuff's so interesting, but we have to adjust our habits so that we can live harmoniously with these rhythms. And so in the morning, that means getting sunrise light in our eyes, on our skin. And that doesn't always work for everyone to go outside at sunrise. In the summer, it's much easier for me, but I live in Colorado, and so it's not always viable. I'll sit in front of an open window. You have to have the window open because the glass of our windows actually filters the full spectrum of rays that the sun is emitting. And I'll watch the sunrise, and like, what a beautiful way to wake up. I do have a lot of time freedom with the schedule that I've created for myself. But when I don't have that freedom, I'll just make sure that when I'm driving, I have the window down for a little while so that I can enjoy that sunrise. And then again, at that UVA rise time, a little bit later in the morning, this is when I'll go out and take my dog for a walk. Or again, if I'm driving, I'll make sure to have the window down and be getting that dose of light that I need and want. So I see clients, and throughout the day, I will leave my little cave, my treatment room where I'm giving facials, and I obviously don't have a ton of light streaming in, but I will go out for 5 to 10 minutes every hour or so, hour and a half, so that I can get some light without sunglasses again, and just getting some little doses, and then I'll go back to work. And if I can eat lunch outside, I always try to. I'm trying to eat my largest meal in the middle of the day because that's when our digestion is going to be the strongest, our digestive fire in our belly. Your circadian rhythm isn't actually just about the sun. It's also about when you're moving, when you're eating at regular times. And so I try to get some good movement in the middle of the day. In the afternoon, I'm still trying to get out and get some doses of light. And this may sound excessive. This may sound like all this stuff that I'm needing to do, but it's weird that in our culture, this feels like a lot. And trust me, when I first started doing this, it was oh my gosh, I can't keep up with all of these little doses of sunlight I'm trying to get. But now I just crave it and try to get outside as often as I can for little doses throughout the day. And then in the evening, this is really where it's a little bit more work. So it is so incredibly important, as I said, that we start to get true dark at dusk and in the nighttime when it should be really dark. And so at dusk, I turn off all of the regular LED lights in our house, and I have specific areas where I have red lights instead of regular bulbs. And so I have one in my bedroom, I have one in the hallway, one by the laundry, and then one in the living room where we hang out. And that way, everywhere I go, and there's one in the kitchen. So everywhere I go, I can turn on the light and it's the red light instead of the regular light that emits so much blue light that it's mimicking midday, and it's going to confuse my body and confuse my melatonin production and all of that repair that I want for my skin at nighttime. I have a pair of glasses that I will wear if we decide to watch a show or if I need to get some work done. I don't watch a ton of TV anymore. I don't really get on my computer as often as I used to. But I have these glasses that I got from a company called Viva Rays. And they're a pair of yellow glasses, but then they have an orange clip-on lens, and then they have a red clip-on lens. And so orange is for evening, dusk time. The red is for nighttime. And then the yellow is for if you're driving around at nighttime or before sunrise. We don't want to have red glasses on when we're driving because you really cannot see red things. If I'm writing with a red pen and I have these red glasses on, I literally cannot see the ink on the paper. And so what that means is you're not able to see the brake lights in front of you, and it's really unsafe. So that's what the yellow glasses are for. I told you it's a whole thing. So I've got these glasses for nighttime if I'm going to be on a screen. I have this little book lamp that clips onto my book, and it's a red light. I got it from a company called Bon Charge. They also make red glasses. I have a pair. They're awesome. But I just really love the way that these Viva rays feel. They're very comfortable on my face. And so these are the little hacks that I have for nighttime so that I can still live in the modern world, but I can be more respectful of my circadian rhythm and supporting my skin. I do also like to have beeswax candles burning. Firelight mimics that infrared that comes from the sun at sunset. And so it is a lovely thing to have in the house, helping to turn on that melatonin production. And then again in the evening, I'm really trying to taper down what I'm eating. I want to finish eating several hours before bed. I don't want to still be working on digestion when I go to bed, because this is again going to scramble up those clocks, and it's just going to cause problems for the repair that your body's trying to do at night. It has to send its energy to digestion instead. And I would rather the energy go towards collagen production at nighttime. The other thing that I've done is I got a new alarm clock when I did that New Year's Eve challenge. And so it is called Bagby, Bagby. And I love this alarm clock. I myself don't love those sunrise alarm clocks. I did have one for a long time, but what I don't like about it is it's like putting LED light in your eyes first thing in the morning. And again, we don't really want that blue light before sunrise. We want to first start seeing infrared. That's how we're going to be turning on all of the antioxidants and the defense for later in the day. So I have this alarm clock. It has no EMF. It's LED light free. It just has I think it's an Edison bulb within it that you just press a little button and it turns on if you need to see what time it is. But it's a fantastic little alarm clock and I've been really happy with it. It's totally analog. It's not digital and it just feels a little more wholesome to me. Blackout curtains have been a really big deal because the neighbors love to have their lights on all night long, which drives me insane. I so want to move to the country and not have to be exposed to light pollution. All living creatures have circadian clocks, and so leaving lights on all the time really messes up bird migration. It's harmful to the animals. I would love it if lights could go off at nighttime, but we live in the world, so I'm not going to get too worked up about it, but it's annoying. So blackout curtains for sure, and just keeping your room nice and dark and cool is going to support the circadian rhythm as you sleep. And then again, rising before sunrise so that you can catch that sunrise when it happens. This is one of my favorite forms of skincare that doesn't come in a bottle. It's just a beautiful reminder that we are nature. We're not separate from nature, and our daily habits are what actually help us to commune with nature. I hope that you enjoyed this. In 2 weeks, I'm going to be talking about, or I guess it's actually next week, I'll be talking about fall tending. And so this is those infradian rhythms. This is just such a beautiful way for us to connect with the world outside of our window. If you liked this, please share it with a friend. Reach out to me. Let me know what you thought. I love hearing from you guys. I will be back next week. And until then, be well. You've been listening to Skin, Earth, Vitality. If you like what you heard today, consider giving me a 5-star rating. It helps other people just like you to find the show. You can shop products and find all of my offerings on my website, stratumaesthetics.com, and follow me on my social channels @stratumaesthetics.